Here we go. Shoo! Good song, brother. I feel like I'm about to, cross about 210 kilos of drugs over the border. Let's do this shit. All right. What is up, everybody? Annibal the Animalist here, and you are watching Dreams to Reality podcast. Today, we are sitting here with two warriors, two monsters of men ready to destroy the world. I have Daniel Labastida coming off of his win for UNF 14, a beautiful rear naked choke, and of course, we have his coach, Thor Skancke, in the house, owner, operator, Renaissance man, Pugilist gym here in Thousand Oaks. If you're looking to learn how to choke people out, how to knock people out, how to kick them in the face, this is the man you come to see. We have the UNF belt here in front of us. This gym makes champions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Gentlemen, welcome. How's your guys' day going today?
It's going great. Thank you for making the trip all the way out here.
Yeah, of course, man. Anything for you guys. I talked to Chris Buckner the other day, and I was telling him that I had the first UNF fighters lined up for the podcast, and he's like, "Oh man, you got the best guy so far." So you guys are the first UNF fighters that are going to be on the Dreams to Reality podcast, and we have a lot of great things coming for the future. I know I talked to you about potentially having you on the sit-down show for your opponent, and it's actually, I don't really know much about you guys, I just found out about Danny. I watched the last UNF fight. It was an awesome fight. So first off, congratulations to both of you guys, to your coach for being in your corner and helping you getting to this stage in your career, and as well for taking that win. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? What got you into MMA, and what's that journey been like?
Well, I guess it all started the day I was born.
That is true for most people.
So my mom, when my parents divorced in Mexico, my mom took me and my brother, and she brought us over here for, greater opportunities and to learn English. And it didn't take long for me and my brother to get our black belts in Taekwondo.
Oh, wow.
Shortly after, I started wrestling, and then I moved to Arizona, and I lived with my aunt for a little bit.
Yeah.
And she was the one who signed me up for an MMA gym.
Okay.
Because, she wanted me to do something productive. I was living with her to go to school.
Yeah.
She was helping me go to school. And then she wanted me to do some type of sport, too. So she signed me up for MMA lessons at Fight Ready. Yeah. Which is Henry Cejudo's gym.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And then when I started training...
Is he smaller in person?
I mean... Probably to you, yeah.
Oh, to me, yeah.
To me, he's just regular.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So it sounds to me like you've been fighting your whole damn life. You're coming from Mexico for another opportunity, and that's one of the things that I really like about fighters. You can be really talented as far as your skill level goes when it comes to fighting, but you can still be a little bitch at heart, And a fighter is something else that's in you that makes you want to go into a cage and throw your bones against someone else. So I respect anyone that has the courage to challenge themselves in a cage, in a ring, whether it's, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, you can die in that ring. There's rules and regulations, but at the end of the day, we're human, and you guys are on that track. And Thor, he's been through it, man. I didn't know you fought for Bellator. I didn't know you were a retired professional MMA fighter. You got your belts hanging up here. So one of the questions that I have for you, Thor, is what do you look for in a fighter when you are looking to train a world champion or someone that wants to succeed in the fight game?
Well, I think in one word you could say discipline.
Okay.
But realistically, you need to find someone who's consistent, driven, someone who believes in themselves, right? I think those are the most important components. You got to be willing to sacrifice for what's important now for what's greater tomorrow. Right? Because today, you're not going to see the return on your investment right away. So you got to be driven by something greater than what's going on right now. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that, they want to be champions, but they don't want to wake up early. They want to be champions, but they don't want to give up this or that, and this is a job, and it requires 100% focus. It requires 100% commitment, and if you don't have that level, you're just never gonna make it. And that's fine. There's a bunch of hobbyists that go to my gym too. There's a bunch of people that are just trying to get in good shape, and but a fighter, someone that wants to make it to the next level, there can't be I want to be a champion, but there's no buts. You got to do whatever it takes. That's what I look for.
Yeah, I am going to be fighting my first MMA fight ever this coming year. I'm 35 years old. I got all kinds of injuries. I have I have a boxing background, but have no jiu-jitsu, no wrestling, no kicking or Muay Thai. So for the last month, I signed up for Muay Thai and for jiu-jitsu just so I can learn how to defend against these things and how to use them. And it's no joke. Even in training, you are having to push yourself if you want to get better. And I can see the separation real quick between the people that are there. I'm here for a workout. I'm here to learn something, just to say. And to people that are like, I want to fight. I want to test my skills. And the only way you do that is with opponents, people that want the exact same thing. So when you're in the cage and you're looking at someone across from you, they're thinking the same thing for the most part. I want to win. I'm here to challenge myself. And that person's the same thing. So in the gym, when a fighter comes in and they say, hey, I want to fight. Is it typically they come in because they want to fight, or they come in because they want to just train and learn how to box or kickbox? What do you typically see? Because I've never been a coach in a gym. I just walk in, and I've always had the mindset of I want to compete, I want to fight. So what is the average for you? What do you think it looks like?
Well, typically you're gonna get your young professionals, that want to come in here and get a good workout.
Yeah.
But then we have our fight team, which goes on at 12 o'clock, and those are people. We made it 12 o'clock because that's the middle of the day,
Yeah.
So people that got a lot going on in their lives typically, aren't the guys that want to be fighters. No disrespect or anything, but it's like, fighting is their job. That's why we have the class at 12 o'clock. That's the middle of the day. We got some people that work at night, but these are the people that'll sacrifice anything to make their dream happen, And it's a very small percentage of the population that are prize fighters. Very small. So yeah, typically you're going to get just people that are coming in here the people that are paying my bills are not the fight team. It's going to be the people that just want to get a good workout.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how did you guys meet? Tell me that story, Danny. What was the first interaction with Thor, and why did you decide to come with Pugilist Gym to train?
So I forgot how I met Chris Buckner, but I met him and Ryan, and they got me a fight with Up Next. I was going to fight Jose Hernandez.
Yeah.
And then they invited me to a media day at their complex where they were going to take photos and videos and a bunch of stuff to promote the fight and the card.
Yeah.
And Thor was one of the guys working at the media day. He gave me my interview there.
Oh, okay.
And then he's asking me where I do my striking, and I tell him I didn't have a striking gym.
Yeah.
And he was actually training with some of my teammates, Weston Quiros and Carson Dohan. And so since they kind of already knew each other, he was like, "Oh, you're one of Carson's homies. Like, come train at my gym."
Yeah.
And I did, and it was awesome.
Nice. So what is your fight philosophy in the cage? What are you normally thinking when you go into a cage?
I feel like I need to enter the cage with sorrow and great compassion, as if I were attending a funeral.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? The reason why you stood out to me when I watched the last UNF competition or the last event that they had was your demeanor was very different than all of the other fighters, and that's why I ask you what's your philosophy, because you stood out in the way that you walked in. You were extremely comfortable, calm, where I see most fighters are intense. They're either thinking I want to kill this motherfucker, or they're afraid. They have a bunch of fear or a bunch of anger. And I didn't see that from you. And it's rare to see that quality in a fighter. And you stood out in the sense where you have this dry humor about you as well, where I can tell that you're having fun, but at the same time, you're serious about what you're doing. And that showed in the actual combat part, you know, from the point where I saw you do your interviews to walking into the cage to being at the cage until the bell rings, and then until you actually touch the other opponent, it was kind of a different person, you know? So do you feel that change, or is it just kind of natural to you?
Yes, I do feel it. Once the ref looks at me and says, "Fighter, are you ready?" I lose all respect for my opponent, and I just try to hurt them as much as possible.
Hell yeah.
Because I know that I can't hurt them that much, because there's a ref and it's an amateur fight, and it's not like it's an MMA fight, but it's not a fight. You know, a fight is a brawl in an Applebee's parking lot.
Yeah.
An MMA fight, there's rounds, there's rules, there's a ref, there's time. You know, it's not a fight. It's a sport, which is why I have fun with it. But it's my job, so I'm still kind of serious. I take it seriously.
Yeah. So you say it's your job. Is this all you do, MMA?
On the weekends, I work at a barbecue restaurant in Simi Valley called Red's Barbecue, and I just do deliveries.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little side thing for a little side money. But all that does is fund my training.
Awesome. Do you have any sponsors or anybody that helps you with your fight game?
Yeah. The other day, John's Bagels gave me my bagel for free.
There we go.
So I wouldn't have been able to train without the nutrition and energy from John's Bagels.
Yeah, man. I before I came, I was looking at all your past interviews, and they're all hilarious, by the way. I was laughing my ass off.
Thank you.
And you know, I told you about those famous bagels. You know, you got to give a huge shout out to John. Was it John's Bagels? You said.
Yeah, John's
huge
Bagels.
shout out to John's Bagels for supporting this man's energy levels in the gym and getting him, you know, to train hard. Any help that an amateur fighter can get, I support. You know, one of the main reasons why I started this particular series on my show of interviewing amateur fighters and going through their journey, one is to get their story out there, because people don't know this shit, man. They don't know the struggle, the suffering that a fighter goes through. You know, they just see you in the ring fighting. Oh, he's great, yeah. Right now, my whole fucking leg is black, you know, from getting kicked in the damn leg. My back is hurting, like my this and that. And if you're making this your career, your livelihood, then financially that's a whole nother aspect. You know, so Thor, you being a retired professional fighter, you have a lot of experience when it comes to that. So when you first started off, how did you manage balancing, you know, your fight career and still doing everything else that you had to do, support yourself? I don't know if you had a family you had to support. How does that usually work for a fighter, and what do you recommend them to do to kind of balance it all out? Or is it fuck balance, you're just gonna make it happen?
You got to do whatever it takes, you know. So I was walking until I got a bike, and then when I got a bike, I rode the bike, and then, you know, training people, personal training, meeting people, figuring it out, you know, putting my faith in God, and you know, the good Lord does provide, and you know, by the grace of God, I'm here today to tell my story. But really, you know, these two fists, that's all I had. That's all I came up with.
That's crazy. So how long ago were you actively fighting in MMA?
So my last fight was, 6 years ago at the Great Western Forum on the other undercard of Ryan Bader and Fedor Emelianenko.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, you know, then COVID hit. I thought I was going to have a few more fights, and then COVID came and shut everything down.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I just, you know, opened a gym. And this has been taking up all of my time and bandwidth, is just training people.
Yeah. So the gym you opened up recently, then, hasn't been open for too long. You said a year?
Yeah, in February it's going to be 1 year since our grand opening.
Okay. Awesome, man. And I mean, this belt here, clearly you're doing something right. You got some champions coming out of your camp here. So how many champions do you have? I know you mentioned you guys do MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, and wrestling, right? From all of the combat sports, how many champions have you developed here, and who are the main people we should look out for the near future?
Well, we got Anthony DeSimone. This is his title. And then we got Carson Dohan, who's going to be fighting for, this is going to be vacated, and then Anthony's going pro, and then Carson's going to fight for this title again.
Nice.
Hopefully we get it back.
Is this in February?
Yes.
Okay.
No, January, end of January.
Okay.
And then we have, Cruz Nix. He's DC for college right now, but he was a Muay Thai champion. Then most of our guys have either fought for championship belts or, and come up a little short. But, for UNF, this is our only champion right now at this moment.
Awesome. Anthony DeSimone said.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Yeah, I did see the fight. That was a great fight as well. And then you have, do you have any jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, or wrestling champs?
Yeah, so, I do my jiu-jitsu. My professor is Rodrigo Carvalho from Axie. And, we're doing pretty well every time we go to tournaments. We do well. I win a lot. These guys win a lot, you know. So, I think we're pretty well-rounded over here. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a gym that, within less than a year has achieved what we have. And I think it's due to the hard work of our fighters. And we got a lot of great coaches here. We got Austin Ailes. We got Rage. We got, Chris Key working with our boxing team. We also have a boxing team. We work with a lot of underprivileged at-risk youth. They come here and they box. Yeah. And we got a program where, it's called the Gang Awareness Program. So we work with kids that are involved in maybe stuff they shouldn't be involved with, and we don't charge them nothing as long as they follow our code of conduct.
Yeah. Because
when you represent this gym, you got to hold yourself to a higher standard than average people, I'd say. So yeah, we got that going on. I'm very proud of all these people, and I'm just looking forward to what the future is going to bring over here.
That's awesome, man. That's beautiful that you're giving back in that way, because for a lot of underprivileged communities and specifically children, fighting is sometimes the only way out. There's not a lot of options. You said you're Mexican, your family came from Mexico. Sometimes out there, all they have is like drugs. So that's what they turn to. Out here, all they have is gangs, drugs, hustling, doing stuff that's probably not good. Utilizing a sport like boxing or MMA or Muay Thai or whatever allows a child, one, to learn discipline, like you were talking about, which is crucial for overall success in their life, whatever they decide they end up wanting to do. But as well, a way, it's an outlet, man. It's an outlet to let out that frustration and that's built up inside from coming from hard life. As a kid, when you don't have the right upbringing, maybe you don't have a father that was there to teach you these disciplines, you kind of become a father as a coach. So you said you're a father figure, and I understand that concept.
I didn't say that.
That's true. Danny said that. But I understand what you meant by that, because sometimes when you don't have that in other places, you look for it. And thank God sometimes it's with someone like that's a professional coach in a combat sports. A lot of the times is a gang, they'll look for that in a gang leader, and now they're leading them the wrong way.
Yeah, because they don't even know they're missing and looking for a father figure. But they just they kind of just latch on to the first male adult that's nice to them.
Yeah. What was that?
No, yesterday I broke my foot. I sprawled on Carson super hard. He went for a takedown, and that's a concrete wall behind that pad.
Oh shit!
And my foot just hit it so hard, and it's just killing me right now. It's really thanks a lot. Shout out to Carson.
At least he didn't take you down.
No, he didn't.
That was something I was going to ask you before I heard that story, was how do you train at a really high level and still prevent injuries as you're training for an upcoming fight?
He doesn't.
You don't.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think it's, it's a happy medium. You really have to plan out your recovery time. You got to know the days where you're going to go hard. You got to have everything. You can't just be flying by the seat of your pants when you write out your training schedule. Some guys are like, oh, I'm going to go do no-gi, and then I'm going to go do sparring, and I'm going to spar through, every day and this and that. And then even when you're hurting yourself in sparring, kicking people, even when you do the technique correctly, you're hurting yourself. The top of your foot hitting an elbow by accident, or hurting your knuckle on somebody, throwing a punch and jamming your thumb. These are all things that happen. when you go into a fight, very rarely do you go into that fight 100%. I don't think I've ever gone into a fight 100%. You know, I'm like, you know, if I get in there at least 60%, I'm happy. So you really have to pay attention to recovery, proper nutrition, you know, hydration and all that stuff, because you want to be your best version inside that cage. But like, you know, the grind is real. You know, you're really beating the shit out of yourself in these training camps. Sometimes people's training camps are too long, you know, and, you know, our last champion, you know, Anthony, like he couldn't even really train that whole camp. He like severely injured his knee just 3 weeks before his fight.
Wow.
And we just couldn't, we literally couldn't pull out. We were just like, nah, because there's like, you know, a little bit of bad blood and stuff. And, you know,
I saw that. He wanted that fight.
yeah, he did want that fight. And, you know, we went out there and we performed very well.
But that's how I knew he was going to win, because he was going into the fight injured.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because you have to not show that injury. You know? When you can't tell either. I couldn't tell his knee was injured. It's not until after the war that you're like, damn, I was all beat up here, there, and over there. But that's good to know because, like I said, I'm starting to train myself, and I was like, man, how the hell am I going to do this? Because I was so gung ho in the beginning. I was like, oh, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu at 6 a.m. Then I'm going to take Muay Thai at 10, and then I'm going to go freaking do some cardio, and then I'm going to go lift weights at night. Man, after that jiu-jitsu, I was like, fuck all that. Yeah. And like right now, like just every time I spar, I get injured. Like knuckles fucked up, thumb, legs, whatever it is. And I'm like, maybe I got to rethink how I'm going to, you know, schedule everything out. So it went from I'm going to train every day to like, I'm laying one day in between to rest, but I'll do something different that's more like recovery. So I guess it's a strategy, you know.
Because even UFC fighters don't train every single day, multiple times a day.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So one of the things that also stood out to me was your cool hats, bro, and your awesome glasses. I know I asked you, is this your final form? I said, what's up with these glasses? So why don't you tell the audience what these glasses are?
Well, it's so like every time someone walks in through those doors, you know, there's no real bodyguard here. Normally we have a dog, but I don't know what happened to the dog.
I see his cage, but I don't see the dog.
Yeah, it's a really
I wasn't allowed to bring him in today because the wife is staying home from work.
Yeah,
so
she needed to be guarded at home.
Oh, there we go. That's cool, man.
But since the dog's not here, if anybody walks in, I go like this.
Shing.
And I can immediately assess their threat level.
That's funny, man. One of the things that I mentioned, I heard you say on one of your interviews was that sometimes when you're fighting the skinniest fighter, you shouldn't, you know, miss, or I can't remember the exact words you said, but pretty much is sometimes the skinniest fighters are the hardest punchers, you know, and I don't test anybody nowadays before everybody thinks they can fight, you know, out in the world, everybody's trying to get in bar fights and this fights, but you don't know who's actually knows how to throw a punch and how to combine. Now that you're trained, do you feel any different when you're walking out throughout the day? Like you could take care of yourself, or what does that feel like?
Yeah, like when I first started training, I used to walk around everywhere thinking I was all cool and that no one could beat my ass and I could do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
But then like, but now I don't really think like that anymore. Now I kind of just walk around feeling like I could get shot at any moment, you know? Like I should have a bulletproof vest, a gun. You know, I feel like knowing how to fight isn't enough, not on these streets.
Yeah.
I don't let anyone cut me off in line anymore. You know, I waited. You should wait just like how I waited.
Yeah. So you don't allow disrespect, in other words.
No.
I would let someone cut me in line, because if someone is trying to cut you or me in line, they're like at a point where in their life where they're so low, they feel like they have to do that.
I don't want to let civilization break down. You know, I care about the rules. I think everyone should care about the rules. The rules were put here for a reason. When one rule falls out of place, then society itself is on the verge of collapse.
Well, it seems that today a lot of rules are being broken in society, and it does feel that it is collapsing in a way. But at the same time, it also feels like we are improving in other things. So we're kind of in a weird place. You know, What's that one famous line? It was the worst of times was the best of times. It kind of feels that way.
I bet our grandparents felt the same way too while they're watching everything change around them.
Yeah. And I mean, specifically for MMA, how have you seen it change over the years? Because it's a new sport, MMA specifically. And you coming up when you first started compared to now, what do you see the differences are, and what is good about it and what is bad about it? And what would you do differently, and what are you teaching your fighters?
That is a loaded question, my friend. When I first started, there was no amateur fights.
Yeah.
So, like, if you go ahead and go look at my record, and all my fights are under the name Thor Skancke, Skancke. That's my mom's maiden name.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy. So when I first started fighting, there's no amateurs, and I started fighting just to put food on my table.
Yeah.
Like,
how much would you get per fight?
Started like $500.
Damn.
$500 to fight. No, my first fight was $300.
Yeah.
And a free trip to Costa Rica. And I took that with like barely any training. And then I lost that fight. And then I came back and I was like, damn, I actually should train. And then I trained with Moore Park Wrestling. And I took my first fight, and I think I got like 400 to fight, or like 250 to fight, 250 to win, or something. I won that fight. Just training with the.
You got yourself $500.
$500, and with the other little hustles, side hustles, and things I used to do. I don't want to get too into everything I used to do back in the day, but
yeah,
I made enough money to pay my rent. I was renting my homeboy's loft, like I was in the loft, and then. I gradually progressed. I took a lot of fights. I fought BJ Penn's jiu-jitsu coach. I fought some like pretty high up there guys with a lot of experience when I really didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool, if it was amateurs, like, these are the times where you want to take L's. It's not a big deal because you're learning. It's not going on your permanent record.
Right.
But, like at the end of my career, which I really consider my pro career, like I was pretty much undefeated for years and years. And, I was knocking people out in the first round and
hell yeah,
kind of figured out the game. Maybe I figured it out a little too late. So like the amateurs is really tight to have amateurs because you get to actually figure out the sport and see if you're built for this or not.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's a very saturated sport now too. You can't turn on the TV without seeing MMA.
Right.
It went from being human cockfighting to on ESPN.
Yeah, I remember when they were trying to ban it.
Yeah.
It's come a long way.
It's definitely come a long way. And now, like, I was just having a conversation about this, where it's like, basically, does this want to turn into a entertainment, or does it want to turn into an Olympic sport? If it's an Olympic sport,
I see.
Pure meritocracy, fighters who just, get the job done by any means necessary, meaning like boring fights, holding someone down the whole time, or being very elusive, but winning. Is that what we want to see? Or is it kind of based on like the Conor McGregor aspect, that X factor of can you put asses in seats, and maybe you're not the best fighter in the world, but you're the most entertaining. What is this sport going to turn into?
Yeah, the way I see it going, I do see it going more towards the entertainment side. But at the end of the day, it's still fighting. So I don't care how entertaining you are. If you're losing fights, you're screwed, But again, if you have the combination of both, like a Conor McGregor up until he started losing, and before he got like super mega rich, he had that perfect combination of he's entertaining, he could put butts in seats, he can sell merchandise, he can sell out events, and he's beating the shit out of world-class champions, which is a rare thing to find in someone. Sometimes you get these fighters that are amazing, but they suck at talking, and they suck at promoting. Or sometimes you get someone that's just great at talking, but they're not that great at fighting. And getting someone that has both is, I think, the best way to garner financial success, But if you're talking about going like the Olympic route, then yeah, it's probably going to be a lot more boring. And I was thinking about this the other day. What's that guy, Russian dude that's undefeated, UFC? God, I forgot his name. Khabib. To me, he's a boring fighter, to be honest. To me, I don't like watching his fights because he just grabs them, puts them on the ground, just gnarls them up on the floor. I like more of a striker. You like those knockouts, those highlight reels that are like, wow, that's awesome. But the dude's undefeated. You know, to me, Floyd Mayweather is a boring fighter too. He's an amazing boxer, great defense. But to me, he was kind of boring. You know, I like that Mexican style boxing where it's just going forward, throwing at each other, everything. So there's got to be, I think, a balance of both, you know, to make it both entertaining and also an actual sport where you're fighting at a really, really high level. And that's one of the things I love about UNF. I see them kind of combining both. You know, they have a big entertainment aspect to it where they put on a big production. They have some celebrity style people there, and they have characters like you, man. You know, that you're entertaining, but you're also a really good fighter. So what is next for you, man? What are your goals as far as MMA and in UNF?
Well, my goals as far as MMA are the ultimate goal is to be UFC flyweight champion of the world.
Okay.
And to do that, you know, I'm going to need to first be up next flyweight amateur fighter.
There we go.
And then up next professional fighter, and then up next professional flyweight champion, you know, and then maybe some IBJJF world championships in there. And then I'll be 26, so I'll have my own health insurance.
There we go.
And then I'll be a professional fighter. And, you know, the ultimate goal really is to make enough money to buy a small farm.
Where would you live, bro? California farm, Texas farm, Oklahoma farm. There's a lot of kinds of farms.
Anywhere the soil is good, really. I mean, I guess I could have 2 farms even.
There you go. You got your summer farm and your winter farm?
Yes.
That's awesome, bro. I have a question for you, Thor. How long do you think a fighter should stay in the amateurs before they go pro?
It's a good question.
It's a great question. I think when you start beating the best guys out there and you really figure out your game, then you should go to the next level. You know, it's kind of like a video game. Like if you can't beat the final boss, then you need to hang around till you get to the next level. You know, if you keep getting stuck on Glassjaw Joe and never get to Soto Popinski, you know, there's a problem. You know, but when you get to Bald Bull and you're nerfing guys like Bald Bull, you know, then we can get on to Mike Tyson.
Well,
there we go.
Me and Weston were talking about this last night after jiu-jitsu training, and you can tell us what you think. But we were feeling like the best guys at amateur are better than the lowest guys in the professionals.
100%. Like, you know, I tell my fighters this all the time. You know, I can get you easier fights in the pro level than I can at amateur, because every amateur thinks they're going to be the next Conor McGregor, the next John Jones. You know, no one is fighting an amateur I mean, I hope not, you know, because it's crazy because you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So, you know, what you're trying to do is make it to the next level. So, you know, once you get a certain amount of wins, no one's going to fight you unless they're confident that they can beat you. But in the pro level, there's guys that are just fighting for a paycheck. You know, you see a ton of guys that are, you know, 4 and 12, you know, 5 and 10, you know what I mean? And these guys are fighting because they need that paycheck. And and I can get those fights for my fighters in the beginning to kind of showcase their skills and then get to the next level. But in amateur, you know, it's a way higher level. You know, the skills are unbelievable. You know, some of these kids.
Yeah, I've seen it. You know, I've gone to a lot of amateur shows, and like when I spot someone like that, this dude should be pro, you know, based off of their skills in the cage. And that makes a lot of sense. Do you think a lot of people stay in the amateurs too long out of fear or out of whatever, some kind of psychological break that's preventing them from going pro?
I think it's out of bad coaching sometimes.
Really?
You know, yeah. I don't know what it is. It's just, you know, got to listen to your coach. Or maybe no coaching, you know, but you got to have, you got to have a coach that has connections to the other side. Yeah. If you don't have that, leave your gym immediately and go to a place where they do have, you know, connections with, you know, good promoters like Up Next and, you know. And then, I mean, some of these kids, you know, you got to have confidence to step in that cage regardless, you know. Right. And if you haven't picked that up in the amateurs, then, it's going to be really hard when you go pro and try to make this your livelihood, you know. What is a professional? It's someone that gets paid to do a job. Right. And, you better be confident that you're good at your job.
Nice. So what would you recommend, Danny, to a young, aspiring MMA fighter that wants to learn the skills and then compete? What are some of the tips and advice you would give to them?
Do jiu-jitsu and do as many jiu-jitsu tournaments as you can while you're still a white belt.
Okay. Why do you recommend that first?
Because when I was wrestling, I wasn't the most experienced wrestler. I wasn't the best wrestler. And, I would get thrown in and compete against guys who had been wrestling since they were 5. And my coach would always say that wrestling was the fairest sport in the world because you'd be competing against someone your own weight.
Yeah.
And then I started doing jiu-jitsu, and now I see that jiu-jitsu is the fairest sport in the world because not only do you compete against people your own weight, you compete against people your own skill too.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they don't have that in wrestling.
Yeah. So you could be wrestling someone that's like way better than you, a black belt wrestler, and you're a white belt.
Yeah. So, but then when you're a white belt at a jiu-jitsu tournament, you're an oaf going against another oaf.
Yeah.
So,
what are your recommendations and tips, Thor?
Repeat the question. Sorry.
So for a young person out there that wants to compete in MMA, what are some of the tips and advice you could give them?
I mean, well, first ask yourself why you want to do that, and make sure you have the right answer, before you get into it, because if it's just for the money, there's a lot of easier ways to make money. You got to have something inside you that, you realize that you're doing this for legacy, like all the things that I've accomplished, no one can ever take that from me. And fighting is the only thing that's ever really made sense to me, like it's one of those things like 2 men enter a cage to achieve a goal, and the guy who wants it more gets the prize. And I wish all of life was that simple.
Yeah.
So if you really have something that makes you want to do it, you got to find your why. I know that sounds cliche, and people are like, oh, what's your why? But if you have your why in order, then everything else will fall into place. And also remember, like, talent is okay, whatever, but consistency beats talent any day of the week. And I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand. Like, if you show up and you put in the work, you can be great. If you start young enough and you put in that work, you will be a champion, but you just have to be a very driven individual. And you have to understand that, you only get one life, and if this is what you choose to do with your life, then you have to be willing to die, and whatever it takes to achieve that goal, because, it's your one life. And at the end of the day, the only thing you have is your legacy.
Hell yeah, man. Respect to that. The symbol to my business in general, Dreams to Reality, is a phoenix. And it symbolizes that you have to be reborn from the ashes. The concept of my show, I go through people's hero's journey. The first step into the hero's journey is the step into the unknown, going into something that you've never done before. And the why is what's going to drive you to go into that unknown, because most people never leave home. They don't leave the Shire. They're little hobbits in their house because they're afraid of what's out there. But the warrior, the person that wants to accomplish something different for their life, like you said, for their legacy, has a big reason why they're doing that. And if you don't have a big reason to pursue your goals, as soon as you face any adversity, you're going to quit. You're going to go back to the fucking Shire because you don't have the drive, that fire inside of you that's going to say, like you said, 2 men go into cage, one person has their hand raised. Guess what the other one gets? The other one gets a fucking lesson. Yep. Learn. If you don't learn, guess what? After your first loss, you're going to quit. You ain't going to come back. After the first time you get beat up in sparring, you're like, I don't know if I want to do that. The first injury, you're going to start crying. The first setback, you get fired. Your wife leaves you. Your dog dies. Shit, life happens. You're going to quit, and you're going to choose the easy life, which is why I have so much respect for you gentlemen and for all fighters, is because regardless of what happens, you make a decision to pursue the goal that you're going after for a big purpose, and you overcome that. So that's called facing the dragon. And that's the next part of the hero's journey, is that one point in your life where it's like, there's 2 roads. Am I going to keep going down this road, being a pro MMA fighter, getting kicked in the face, punched in the face, or am I going to go this route? I'm going to go get a job somewhere and, just be comfortable. And for you, Thor, did you ever come across that point?
Well, I just want to say one thing too. I don't want people to think that I believe that fighters are any more brave or there's any more respect on a fighter's name. I believe every kid should at some point get punched in the face. I think every kid should practice martial arts. Everybody, whether you're going to be a fighter or not. Let's look at Carlito Reyes. So, I love Carlito Reyes' boxing gloves, and his story famously was he walked into a boxing gym. He loved boxing so much, he got punched in the face and went home crying, never to box again. but he made these gloves and he made a legacy and he made millions of dollars and he took his family out of poverty. You can be a champion and be an IT professional. You can be a champion and be a real estate agent. You can be a champion and sell cars, you know, but you have to understand, for me, fighting was easier. It's just, it's in my DNA. It made sense. Everything else is very hard for me, you know, to hold down a 9-to-5 job. I tried every single job. I've done painting, I've done construction, I've done masonry, I've worked in the car dealer industry, I sold loans. Nothing made me happy, you know, and I know that the one thing that I do know is you get one life, you know what I mean? And you got to do what makes you happy, you know, or else I'm just wasting this shit that God gave me, this gift that God gave me. So, you know, like, I just think everybody should, you know, yes, get punched in the face and just know that you're not made out of candy, you know, but you know, at the end of the day, you have to go out there and just find what works for you in this life, you know. And if it's fighting, then you got to give 100% to it. But if it's making boxing gloves, man, you better give 100% to that too and be the best at it.
That's it, brother. Well said. You know, I interview a little bit of everything. I got musicians, artists, actors, producers, directors. And what I notice about all of these successful people as I interview more and more and more people is that the journey is the same. It's just different things. They're not getting punched in the face. They're facing a different adversity. You know, they're not losing a fight. They're losing a business deal, you know, but the champion still overcomes that dragon, and then they gain wisdom and insight, and then they come back home. They call that return to elixir with wisdom. And that's what life is. It's just this giant cycle of overcoming adversity. And the more and more and more you overcome adversity, you become the wise wizard, the wise coach, the person that knows, hey, I've been there before. I know what you're feeling. I got it. You know, let me teach you what I do when that happens to me. And that's why the mentor-mentee relationship, the coach and student relationship is so crucial for success, because it's very, very rare. At least I haven't seen it where someone just did everything on their own. You know, I learned how to box on my own. I learned how to do this on my own. Everybody has someone that taught them something. Yes, you could innovate, and then you could become the teacher because of your own experience and your own style. But in your essence, you are still your father's son. You are still your coach's student, you know, and there's respect to that, you know. So for anybody that's out there that wants to get punched in the face, come see Thor, come see Pugilist Gym. I'm really excited to see your next fight, Danny. I'm going to be keeping an eye on you. I'm going to be working with UNF on a couple of things. Hopefully we can have some of your fighters on the sit-down show. We're going to be doing that with whoever has the belt, you know. So Anthony DeSimone, is he putting it up, or is he going to fight one more time?
No. So Anthony, like we said, I believe Anthony's beat all the final bosses.
Okay.
I think Anthony is at that next level. And it's, you know, it's time to start making some money, Anthony. You know, let's go pro. He knows it. So he's going to go pro. Carson is going to...
Carson's the guy.
Carson's going to fight for the belt.
Does he have an opponent yet?
Yeah, he does.
Who is it?
Majili Gay.
Okay.
And you know, it's going to be a great fight. You know, his opponent is really, really tough, and we're also really, really tough.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to be hitting you up. I'm going to be hitting up Chris. We're hopefully we can have both of these fighters facing off each other. Hey, I've never had coaches on as well. Maybe we can have you next to him and then his coach next to him. And you guys get to ask each other a couple of questions and tell each other what you want to tell each other to promote this upcoming fight. Is it going to be at UNF 15?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, make sure you get your tickets in advance.
I just want to say one more thing.
Sure thing, brother.
So, you know, we recently went through a pandemic. There were people dying, and the U.S. government used its whole power to save lives. Today, we have 200 kids every single day are dying of fentanyl overdose. We got 1 in 5 kids can't even read. We got the highest rate of childhood HIV in 20 years.
Jesus.
So what I want to see, okay, I challenge other gyms, go ahead and start a program where you take these kids in, okay? You know, go ahead and do something better for your community, guys. You know, like, it's up to us really to make a change in the world. If you can do what I'm doing, I challenge you to do it, okay? Start a program, all right? Maybe you're not going to get anything back financially, but honestly, you guys are the thing that can hold this community together, and it takes a village to raise a child.
Wonderful, brother. Really respect that. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on.
Wait,
and
before we go, I actually got you guys some gifts.
Oh, really? What you get for us, brother? Oh,
shout out to John's Bagels.
Shout out.
Personally from John himself.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
California bagel on sun-dried
There's nothing
tomato.
better. Nothing better. This is
Another California bagel on sun-dried tomato.
Shoo. I'm going to be training hard today, brother. Thanks to you and to John's Bagels here in Thousand Oaks. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for next time.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
That's it.